Dr. Chaturvedi, I was introduced to Dr. Chaturvedi by one of his patients, someone who survived, somebody who's been a warrior. And I think that meeting started at 8:39 at night or 7:38.
Must be.
And we were told that, we have a 30-minute slot with him. And I think that meeting ended up being about 2 hours. And it was pretty late for all of us to go back home. But I think it was one of the most fruitful meetings that I've had with any oncologist. Not because of trying to understand about cancer, but was trying to understand the humanity and the humanness around cancer treatment. And that was for my book. So there's a chapter based on this conversation with Dr. Chaturvedi in my book, which is called The Will to Live.
Will to live. Yeah.
Sir, in fact, वो उसका जो नाम था while we met was defeating cancer.
Yeah.
Until somebody came and pointed out कि अभी social media का ज़माना है, तो आप कहीं false hope ना दे रहे हो किसी को कि you can defeat cancer if you read my book. So that is when we changed it to The Will to Live. Dr. Chaturvedi, you have been in this field of oncology for a long, long time. And, as someone who has not just the knowledge by virtue of being trained in this field, but because of your experience and the number of patients that you have dealt with, this knowledge turns into wisdom because बहुत सारी rare चीजें जो usually नहीं दिखाई देती हैं आपने observe करी हैं. So in this journey of oncology, what have you seen evolve? ये cancer treatment कैसे evolve हुआ है in the last few decades to what we see today?
So first of all, thank you for having me and doing this, because I feel that whenever we get a chance to talk about cancer and talk about in a significant way that make it center stage in conversation, it helps in combating the whole journey for people across the globe. And that is very important because so many myths are there, so many understandings are missing. So every time we do something, it is a positive step in that direction. So that is very important. And we should all take that chance. We see a lot of my colleagues sitting there, oncologists. For all of us, it's very important to be engaged in the civil society conversation related to cancer. And in the previous panel, as we were discussing, almost 60% of cancer is preventable. Almost of those 40% will still happen anyways, whatever you do. Of that, about 20-25% is screen detectable. So if we really address these things in a systematic way, probably we'll win the war on cancer in a much easier way than what we are doing today. What Dr. Sanjeev Singh had mentioned in the first panel very emphatically, that we had adopted the US model and we are going in a tech-driven model. And so unlike the European model where there's reasonable focus on healthy society, healthy people and screening and prevention, we have shifted completely to a US model, just focuses on jo aa gaya usko treat kar de type ka. I think we in India have a unique opportunity because we are there to in a slightly behind the technology curve, slightly behind this journey, and so we have an opportunity to learn from others' mistake and club the two and make the best out of it. And probably we are smart enough to do that. So if in that perspective, if I answer your question, what has changed, what has evolved, what has happened in the last 38 years, what I have seen from close quarters, it's almost 38 years since I've been in cancer. So frankly, everything has shifted. We talk of prevention, understanding has evolved so much, there's so much we know, how we are practicing, how the behavior is changing, as that also was brought in last panel, we see so much difficulty in behavior change. But as we mentioned toward the end of the panel, that if you make that score valuable enough, life skill score valuable enough on the report card of each child, the behavior will change. The parents' behavior will change. Unfortunately, even parents don't understand what they're doing. So their behavior will also change if that becomes valuable enough. So that is as far as prevention is concerned. Look at screening, early detection. Already you are seeing impact of Ayushman Bharat, impact of so many digital technologies. There is round the corner, and I've been seeing this for last 5 years. I say that it is round the corner that we'll have something like a universal marker which will help us identify high risk group population, within this population and put them on a high risk detection mode, that pick up cancer early kind of mode. When will that happen? It is anybody's guess. For somebody like me who's an optimist, I always think अगले 6 महीने में हो जाएगा. हुआ नहीं है 6 साल से, वो अलग बात है, but होने वाला है, because a lot of work is going on, investment is going on in that space. So that is there. On front of understanding cancer, diagnosis making, there's a paradigm shift. And Aparna is sitting there, I just saw her, she's missing now. The whole genetic profile or understanding cancer at gene level has changed dramatically. So today we're not treating cancer as we treated in 2015. 2025 has been different from 2015. 2005 was different from 2015. So every 10 years you see such significant shift that you realize that it's a new world. And only those people who are engaged in a learning mode can evolve. If you're seeing and practicing in isolation, you're gone. Because it's only the collective wisdom of the group which works. People like me will get outclassed by any group which is working in tandem. So, screening, early detection, understanding cancer, mapping of cancer, understanding cancer biology, surgical equipment. We talked about theaters, how they look today. We look at medical oncology, the kind of drugs you have. When we talk about the expensive drugs, but the fact is that they're changing lives, they're saving lives. When we talk of radiation oncology, there's huge technology, huge cost, not justified in certain situations. We took some examples, but I always say this, thank God we have something moving. And we have to move the needle. We have to put these things together. Obviously, everything will have some flip side, some negative side, but course correction happens. That is the power of science. That is the power of evidence. That is the power of democracy. If you put all these three things together, course correction will happen. आप नहीं करोगे, कोई कोर्ट केस करेगा. आप नहीं करोगे, legislation करेगा. आप नहीं करोगे, regulators करेंगे. It is bound to happen. So the power of civil society and all this science club together is amazing, and it is huge. So we are out for a world-class journey, and I think for our country, we are in the sweetest spot possible, because government is backing innovation, government is supporting, tech is coming up in a big way, and fortunately, what I have heard and on the sidelines and different conversations, the NABH is coming up with mandatory digitalization. ABDM is coming up in a big way. So just imagine, we are at the e-fintech moment in healthcare. This has been my belief for last 5-6 years, and I think the turn is round the corner, because a lot of things have to come together. It is not just the power of tech or what this or that. A lot of things have to come together, and they are coming together. Every day we see some needle shifting. So that is where we are.
Absolutely. You know what? I truly believe that development has always happened. Every year we have been better than what we were before. But today everything is aligned together where, we have the best tech talent in our country. We have the best medical talent in our country. And now the government is supporting it with the schemes as well as the platform to do so.
I just want to make one more point on that front. What is missing and where we need to do more work, maybe not missing, it is there, but we need to do more work, because bring the medical people in the tech fields and tech people in the medical field.
Absolutely.
So I have been trying to champion something like creating internship models for tech people in hospital ecosystem and for doctors in tech ecosystem. So once that happens, then the real conversation, deep conversation, pain point understanding, all this will change to the next level.
Absolutely. I think, this is a very, very important aspect, because if you go and see, a lot of medical equipment, medical devices are being curated and designed in IITs today. And some of these people are working on startups and innovation without having the doctor being involved in it. So they are trying to solve a problem which they will try and identify later. Sir, a lot has changed, lot is aligned. But the one thing that remains constant is that every cancer patient goes through their own journey, and this journey will have moments which are vulnerable. And because we call cancer treatment a journey, and it is a long one, the treating doctor, the oncologist, becomes a part of that journey. And the bond that I have seen among the cancer survivors, warriors, and their treating surgeons, doctors, becomes very, very strong. I mean, the fact that, when Anchal introduced me to you, you could see that bond. Is there some memorable moment that can create an impact on all of us listening here, uh, based on what you have observed? Or is there some journey that comes to your mind instantaneously when you think about कि ऐसा भी टाइम था, ऐसा भी दौर था, देखो कैसे निकल के आए हैं सब?
So ऐसे बहुत सारे हैं. Aanchal is one fantastic example. She was there just now. I don't know. So she's one great example. But I must confess that Aanchal is one good example. There are thousands of fantastic examples. There are people. So what touches me most is when I see people coming together in these difficult moments. I am not saying because I'm in the dais. I actually every day feel blessed that I'm an oncologist because I see people in most vulnerable, difficult times. And when you see people connect, support each other, sometimes families coming together, people from lower middle class families, and I choke when I talk about all this because it is really something which is very heartwarming for me. That lower middle class families, such expensive treatment, सब long drawn treatment, कैसे खर्चा होगा, कैसे इलाज होगा, वो एक दिन बात करते हैं, घर चले जाते हैं, दूसरे दिन आते हैं, 4 लोग और साथ में आते हैं, और सब कहते हैं मिल के कर लेंगे. So those things, they really touch me and they give me energy for tomorrow. They give me that belief that a better world is always possible. And so like that, it's just not one or two. There's lots of stories, but unfortunately, there are negative stories also. So we don't have to really talk about them. But I must say that we should speak our whenever we get a chance. All of us must speak out and appreciate what is good and not appreciate what is not good. I feel that people get bonded, get connected. I've seen families where children settled abroad, wherein somebody got cancer, but the guy left his job, moved in completely, old people being taken care of. And similarly, the other extremes also happened. But this is very powerful that the most important thing is here, and this is the disease. So if you look at most of the cancer hospitals, whether it is Rajiv Gandhi Cancer Hospital, Dharamshila Cancer Hospital, whatever, Tata Memorial Hospital, Kidwai Hospital, Cancer Institute Chennai, where I got trained, a lot of these hospitals have their seed in personal experience. Rajiv Gandhi came up because Mr. K.K. Mehta was the founder secretary. His mother was treated and he got so invested in it. He said, we have to find the solution for this disease. And Dharamshila, we all know about Mrs. Khanna and her journey. We know about Cancer Institute and Tata Memorial because, so when something like this hits, you can either take a step back and own the problem for the world, or you get burnt out. So a lot of people own the problem for the world and create bigger visions and bigger dreams, and a lot has happened. So it's very powerful.
You know, it is amazing what you brought out as an example of how these hospitals or these institutions got set up. I was, we have someone here who's a parent of a child who had a cancer and she passed away. But I think things are changing today. People who have not dealt with cancer directly or indirectly are also now coming forward to become a part of this journey to make things better. And
Yes.
one of the things that very powerfully needs to happen is to normalize cancer. इतना ज़्यादा जब फैल गया है, and today we are fortunately seeing signs of development to a point where we might have solutions. I think we should be able to normalize cancer. But while I say so, and आपने जैसे बताया कि बहुत सारी inspiring stories हैं, but बहुत सारी stories ऐसी भी हैं we did not end up the way we wanted them to end. And you as an oncologist, or for that matter, every oncologist who's there, goes through a series of emotions during the day. There are times when you meet a patient where you see a ray of hope. There are times when you know that this will not end the way I want. And we are all human beings, so is the oncologist. How do you deal with so much of emotions, uh, and which may be very very stressful? I know that बहुत लोग बोलते हैं कि डॉक्टर तो used हो जाता है, for them a patient is just another number. But my interaction with over thousands of doctors in the last few years makes me believe otherwise, that डॉक्टर के लिए पेशेंट एक नंबर नहीं है. वो शायद जता नहीं पाता, दिखा नहीं पाता, लेकिन वो इमोशनली हर्ट होता है
और दिखा नहीं सकता.
दिखा नहीं सकता.
Professional space में ना, you can't demonstrate all your emotions.
Yes.
So that is
How
also
do you
there.
deal with stress which is out of these emotions?
So first thing is that my first 7-8 years of my professional journey were very tough. in an independent space as a professional, because I actually used to get mentally, uh, I would use the word, so much affected that if you had a complication, had a difficult situation, मैं 3-4 दिन कोई major surgery नहीं करता था. I used to deliberately slow down. It was difficult to cope and just thinking about those things. But gradually you develop the muscle for it. So as you fail, as you rise, as you fail, as you rise, you develop the muscle to handle it. And for me, for example, my home is my best comfort zone. So my wife knows the best form of me, who I am and what I am. So because that is one person. So what happened when my kids were small, हम घर जाके फिर पेशेंट की बात करते, तो मैं बेटा जो है वो कहीं पूछता था, पापा पेशेंट कैसा है. So then we decided कि अब ये घर में बात नहीं करनी है ना. But आपसे रहा नहीं जाता, आपके लिए वो सब important भी है. So typically when they will sleep off, then so a lot happens, but I think finally somebody pays the price, and I think the home front is where people end up paying the price, because I spent so much time in hospital. So whether it is time, whether it is emotional baggage, whatever you say, that and it is still very, very difficult to cope with difficult situations. But at the other side, as you develop the muscle, you know that next patient is next patient. So you can't stick with that emotion for long. You have to move on. And that is how, whatever game you play, this is a game also. This is, I always say this, oncology is a game of a highest level, because this is a team sport which you cannot have any other team sport of this level. So many people working in tandem towards one goal. This is the only human game of that kind and of that level. So this is how I see it. And again, we have to really help each other, support each other. So all of us understand, if you have a good teamwork culture, then you actually share emotions and everything, and expect a better person each time. Each time you expect that so-and-so should perform better next time if it's something slipped. So that expectation, that conversation helps in building the institution.
So, sir, with every conversation that I've had with an oncologist, I truly believe that they're not just a doctor who's treating, they're just not healers, but they're contributors. Because the way a cancer survivor or a warrior leads his or her life post treatment, there's a huge contribution about how they felt during the treatment. And each story of a warrior is a story of resilience, because ऐसे ही नहीं कोई treat हुआ. They've gone through their own challenges, emotional, physical, they fought it out, and which is why they're truly called warriors. And every survivor and a warrior is now supporting some kind of a cancer support group, etc., because they understand that journey. But it has to go beyond that. What, in your opinion, can or should a cancer warrior do so that it's not just supporting the cancer patients, but we are also contributing towards creating policy decisions, creating new policy frameworks, impacting the treatment protocols, and bringing the community which is creating an impact of the outcome tomorrow? What is it that they can do?
So I think a lot they're already doing. Poonam is just stepping out. I just noticed her also that a lot of survivors have built not just associations and support groups, but advocacy is one area which in our country is not to that level. And that is probably, that's also shaping up, I would say. At least the engagements have increased compared to what was even 2 decades back. So I would not expect from patients to, I want my patients to go back happy in the society and be the person they want to be. I can't raise my expectations from them. I have to raise expectations from myself and from the professional community, because we have owned the responsibility. They have landed up in this problem. We have owned the responsibility. So my expectation is not that they should become like this and become a Mahatma. No, अगर मैंने लिया है ना oncology, तो मुझे वो लड़ाई लड़नी है. And that is why I feel that even with if it's GP, whether it's a policy maker, whether it's any person, it is the oncologist domain. We have to influence that thinking and professionals. So that is one. My expectation is not from them. They being happy in their space is my biggest satisfaction. They not participating in support group activities, this is my biggest, I'm happy with that. If that is the person they want to be, it's perfectly fine. my expectation for myself has to go up, and from my colleagues has to go up. That we have to influence policy, we have to influence advocacy, we have to influence, support those people who want to do that. Support those. So there'll be always all kinds of people. And likewise in patients also, some people will feel satisfaction कि मुझे तो अस्पताल ही बनाना है, मुझे तो एनजीओ ही बनाना है, मुझे तो ये करना ही करना है, वो करेंगे, तो हम उनको सपोर्ट करें. Even that is good enough.
फैंटास्टिक. आदित्य ने मुझे डरा के रखा हुआ है कि टाइम्स अप का आएगा, तो आ गया है.
आ गया.
सो माय लास्ट,
मैं तो समझ रहा हूँ बच गया, कोई ऐसा सवाल तो नहीं आया कि मैं फंस जाता.
बट सर एक क्वेश्चन है जो मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ, एंड दैट विल बी माय लास्ट क्वेश्चन आदित्य, सो यू डोंट हैव टू बी वरीड. सर, हम जिस दौर से गुजर रहे हैं वहां पे बहुत क्वेश्चंस आते हैं ऑन अ ट्रस्ट. एंड people, when I say people, the patients and their families, when they go to a hospital, they are dealing with a doctor, there is a question on कि क्या वो सही बता रहे हैं, नहीं बता रहे हैं, हॉस्पिटल फायदा तो नहीं उठा रहा, नहीं उठा रहा है. और बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए वो ऑनलाइन जाते हैं. एंड आई कैन very confidently say a lot of information which is online is also misleading. It is not being shared by the people who are qualified to share that information. How do you, as an oncologist, suggest that trust can be built and patients can be guided effectively so that we can truly say that patient is the center of every conversation?
So I think it's a very important question because yes, there's a trust deficit and that is across board. है ना, आप जब मेजर इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हो, चाहे मकान खरीदो, चाहे ये खरीदो, वो खरीदो, आप भी जैसे के वेट करते हो, ये करते हो, तो यहाँ तो जिंदगी मौत का सवाल है, तो वो तो होना ही होना है. एंड नो वन, एंड आई एम नो वन स्टार्ट्स ट्रीटमेंट ऑन फर्स्ट कंसल्टेशन. सब लोग 1, 2, 3 जगह वेट करते ही करते हैं, एंड विच इज फेयर थिंग टू डू. No, I'm not God. I'm a human being. I can do wrong. I can have judgment errors. I can misinterpret a report to an extreme extent. All these things happen daily. So I think that cross-vetting and conversations are very important. Going on online and having inauthentic information is not a good idea. But generally people would seek out. So in this whole game, there's only one person who's fighting for life. And that is the patient. The person who is fighting for life would gradually evolve that wisdom. उसको वो अपने आप ही समझ में आ जाएगा. कभी कभी फंस सकता है आदमी, but generally समझ में आ जाएगा what is right and wrong. You go through things, you make your list of questions. So I generally support people in these things कि भैया ये भी check कर लो, वो भी check कर लो, make a list of questions, meet 2-3 doctors, meet 2-3 oncologists. From the hospital side, I personally feel the best way to do it is create MDTs, multidisciplinary teams. Have the conversation with people, are like to collectively communicate that. Within our system at Max, what we have done is that I comfortably tell somebody कि जाके इनको भी दिखा लो, उनको भी दिखा लो, 3-4 लिखो. ऐसा नहीं कि सब माफिया की तरह काम कर रहे हैं. Obviously people will come together and sharing of views, but finally you will see through that, and it is important. I see it is our responsibility to make sure that we communicate effectively and make sure that people have the right to question, right to engage in a conversation. Only then we have the right to say that we are actually doing our professional job well.
Fantastic. And I think this also helps a patient to reach a point where he's comfortable with the treatment finally that he's taking and from the doctor that he's taking. Dr. Chaturvedi, thank you so much for agreeing to be on this conversation.
Thank you.